1564, I, Galileo, was born on February 15th in Pisa, Italy. My dad wanted me to be a doctor, but I said I couldn't really refuse because he was my dad. I said, okay, I'll go to college and be a doctor. But when I was becoming a doctor, my dad stopped paying, and I had to drop out of college. When I dropped out of college, we had to move. When we moved, I had to enter a different college. This college, I entered for mathematics and space. While during space, I made a pendulum. I measured that when I was at church, there was a light swinging. I measured the time, how long it took by a foot tap. It took 10 seconds for it to go back and forth, even when the length of the swing got shorter. I didn't know that. I thought this could never happen. So I went and asked my professors. My professors said they said it was correct that it will take the same time, because when the length of it gets shorter, the candle will go slower. So after this, I started studying the mathematics, which I graduated from college and started studying space. When I studied space, somebody else made a telescope. When they made a telescope, the army wanted to buy it. Well, I made a telescope. I made an even better telescope. You could see probably Jupiter. And while I saw Jupiter, I looked at the moon. There was a guy who thought the moon was just a perfect round sphere. Well, what I saw, it had mountains, it had craters, it was so bumpy. So I decided to tell the church. Well, they told me I was wrong. Their religion was that he was right, I was wrong. Well, I said, you can look through my telescope. And so I brought my telescope over to the church, and they looked. Well, they thought it was just an illusion by my telescope. But I said, no, I made this from scratch. And while I made that, I started writing a book. And this book was called Letter on the Sunspots. Letter on the Sunspots described that instead of how everybody else thought that all the planets, including the sun, moved around the Earth, but what I saw, we all moved around the sun. Well, after that, I had to go to church, and they told me never to write a book again. Well, I didn't really listen to them. I wrote another book called The Essay. This described that Copernicus method that we all move around the sun. Well, when I wrote that book, I got trialed to Rome. When I got trialed, they had to imprison me. Well, I got imprisoned, and when I got imprisoned, the church said I'll just have house imprisonment. So while I was at my house, I started writing another book. This I never published, so I didn't get in even more trouble. Well, after this, I got sick real bad. I couldn't go out of my house to get a doctor like I need, but the church said that they'd have a student come and take care of me. Well, the student took care of me very well, but one day I died, and I had the book out, and it was never finished.